Guys, welcome to episode 7 of the Ocean State Athlete Podcast with Matt and Todd. We're sans Todd today, as he had a little conflict with work that came up the last minute. But today's guest, we're going to do a little extended segment with him, is a former North Kingston High School star in baseball, basketball, and volleyball, and current Salve Regina University baseball coach, Eric Cirella. So we're going to bring in Eric early on today. So let's say hi to Eric. Eric, what's up, bud?
Hey, thanks for having me. I can be Todd today. I don't know him, but I'll try.
You'll be a solid fill-in. You'll be a
All
solid
right.
fill-in. So we'll churn through the show like we usually do. Did you have a game this week in the NFL that was the highlight of your week?
I mean,
That's fun to watch.
just, from being an East Coast guy, and a lot of kids in Salve are either, Pats, Giants, Jets, or Eagles. I would say just the Eagles pulling off a win, late at, I think in San Fran. Kind of a season saver, to say the least, right there, to at least get a W and be in the hunt in the East there. That would be my game.
That's your game of the week?
Yeah.
I saw little bits and pieces of that game. I still I'm over Carson Wentz. I'm over the Carson Wentz show, and I feel like the Philly fans should definitely be regretting letting go of Nick Foles. Not that he's a star, but it's bad. It's bad. And he's giving the guy $100-something million. But he lives to play another day.
This is true.
Saved. I personally got to watch a ton of the Browns Cowboys game, and my wife being a huge Cowboys fan, watching Dak put up some numbers and just literally you see the dollar signs as he's walking off the field. They didn't leave with the W, but he's making himself millions and millions every game. Every game.
You got to wonder how long Garrett's going to have that job.
Oh yeah, I mean,
every year it's like
Garrett's going to McCarthy might be McCarthy's.
McCarthy, you're right.
McCarthy, he goes to show you that he was saved a lot by Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Made him look good for a lot of years. So we do usually with me and Todd, we'll do who won the week, Brady or Belichick. So obviously we'll let you go first since you're the guest today.
Sure. Well, I'm going to go with Brady because he threw 5 touchdown passes and he won, and he's 3-1 right now. And I don't think Belichick had the best cards to work with, and I'm still a Belichick guy, but Brady won the week.
I would agree with that, but just to play devil's advocate, I am going to be all in on sitting Cam Newton. I would play for Trevor Lawrence. I think it's what they're doing now is to play for a playoff spot this year. And what are you going to do with Cam? Can you really win with him? So I think by seeing what you had in Jarrett Stidham and being able to, he threw the pick 6 towards the end.
Do you think it's his fault?
Whose fault? Jarrett?
The Pitts. But
it goes on as an interception. So
sure.
But I thought he looked good out there. But I think if you have a chance to get Trevor Lawrence, who could, in theory, be a transcendent figure in sports or in football, at least for the next 10 to 15, or the way these quarterbacks, as long as these quarterbacks play for, I think you'd be stupid to try to get a couple years with Cam when you can, you could possibly play for that. I'm not all about tanking, but this year you could go for another 2 decades of greatness. What's your opinion on that?
It's a tough. I mean, it's not like they're not going to be in the playoff hunt. If you're a team, if you're the Jets, if you just have no hope, I'm all for that. Like, let's build for the future. But as well as I know, New England sports fans are spoiled, and they want to win, and they want to win now. And there's been more ticker tape parades in Boston for somebody who's 20 years old or 25 years old than anybody in any region of the country is ever going to experience in entire life. So I just think it's a tough thing. And I thought that the Patriots, a couple of bounces here, a call here and there, and they're really, in that game, like really in that game. So look, the Chiefs are one of the best teams in the AFC. To me, I don't think I think that if they just come in and they kick the crap out of you and leave you no hope, then that's an option. But man, the Patriots can play with anybody. I until they prove that they can't, I roll out Cam and I am trying to win every single game.
Are you a Cam fan prior to him coming to the Pats?
Not a huge Cam fan. I think his commercials are funny. His personality is great, but
Great hairstyle.
Sure, and his wardrobe is phenomenal. But you hear all these reports from him doing all the right things, saying all the right things, and spending the right amount of time, at the facility. So when you hear someone like that doing things the right way, naturally, as a coach, I want to root for him.
Yeah. Oh, good. All right, we had a mailbag question. What's your opinion? It's from Justin in Connecticut. What's your opinion in the down ratings in the NBA Finals? Do you think it has to do with the time of season, or it has to do with the NBA being more political this year? You want to take it as a guess as your first crack at it?
Sure. I actually heard that 2 days ago. I think it's a combination. I don't think it's black and white. I think there's a lot of shades of gray. Typically the NBA finals come on in June, and in June, there's not a whole heck of a lot going on except for you're getting into the ebb and flow of baseball season. Yeah. So, to me, part of it is just you got college football going, you got Major League Baseball going, and some of these days there's 4, 6, 8 playoff games going on at once. You get the NFL going, and I think that the NBA game is just not as maybe enjoyable as watching a good college basketball game. That's just my opinion. I think the personalities are too big, and sometimes it turns into let's see who can shoot better from 26, 28 feet. Yeah. And maybe we'll play defense, maybe we'll box out, maybe we won't. But, I don't – I'm sure part of it's political. I'm sure there's people that are rooting for it to fail. But to me, it's a lot of different things and just what is transpiring right now in sports, and there's a lot of different options to watch.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think it is you try to go against football. Football's the fall, winter. You're not going to win. Nobody wins against. You can't put a presidential debate against a Monday Night Football game. You can't put anything against football, and we're conditioned to. This isn't. I'm a huge basketball guy. I love to watch basketball, and I forget that it's on sometimes. I got some Google alerts. Thank God, because you forget that the finals are on. And right. It's just everything just seems so weird, and like you said, with so many options for television right now for sports, and everything's being played. When else can you watch baseball, basketball, and football, and college football, and you're mixing in some serious, golf at times. It's like there's too many options, and I also think that if you go against, if you go against football, you're gonna fail.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
You're right.
I think it's agreement on that. Justin in Connecticut, thank you very much. You can send in your emails if your mailbag questions to askmattandtodd@gmail.com, and we will ask the best ones on the next show. Pull that up. All right, so let's get to you, Eric.
Sure.
So 4 years, we've known each other, since we've been about 14, 15 years old?
Wow. So what is that, 20, closing on 25 years?
Yeah, we're showing our age. You were 4 years at North Kingston, right? Yep. I'm reading off the bio. Second team All-State baseball. Mm-hmm. You were All-State volleyball. You were All-Conference in baseball, basketball, and volleyball. Let's see. You were a college All-American twice. New England. Is it considered all New England or all New England All-American?
All New England, I guess. Yeah.
All New England.
Yeah.
Twice. And you were an academic All-American 3 times. So just for everybody listening, you crushed it on all the fields and in the classroom.
Sure.
So let's talk a little bit about your journey. What when you were growing up, what you want to do? Was it always baseball? Was baseball the number one, and just you kind of wrote it out because you were great at all three?
I mean, to be honest with you, I always loved hoops the most. Like
Yeah.
hoops, especially growing up and um Jamestown obviously is not known for any sports. Maybe just some summer vacations in Jamestown and Newport, but
Yeah.
I did have some good classmates. Some of them went off to Hendricken, some of them to North Kingstown, and North Kingstown is definitely one of the premier, at least public school athletic programs for across the board.
Oh yeah, all the
But
sports.
I always loved hoops, and I think my dad always tells a story about going to. I think I went to like 5-star basketball camp one year when I was 14. I was freshman, sophomore year, going into my sophomore year, and just coming back from that and being like, I don't think basketball is the route because there were just so many kids who were more athletically gifted. And, when you're, heck, at that point, I'm 5'6", 120 pounds, and I could dribble the ball and I could shoot the ball a little bit, but, kids who were 6'2", who were guards and could dribble the ball way better than me and could dunk, and it just was eye opening. And I think at that point it was like, hey, this is fun. I love high school hoops. Some of my fondest memories of sports are games at the old North Kingstown gym where it feels like there's a heater on. It's 92 degrees. There's bubbles in the court, but
It's wall to wall. It's like you feel it's like you're playing in the garden and there's only 300 people in the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
And people are standing, and it's just it's a great environment. Just like some of the, like I can remember playing a classical or the old LaSalle gym, and it's like, oh my God, this is awesome. And there's probably only 200 or 300 people in there, but it feels like there's 10,000. But that was eye opening to me. And I think at that point, it was baseball, because volleyball was a filler. It was football, and then it's like, man, I got 220-pound guys falling on me, and I weigh 100 pounds. This is not that fun.
How did you get into volleyball?
That was just a thing in North Kingstown where like they ran off a bunch of state titles, and Joanne Fitz was a coach, and I ended up being friends with like Kevin Harrington and Neil Forbes and Jeff Vanderveer, who's a basketball player, and I had played it.
Did Mark Mazza play
volleyball? Mark played it. Mark and I were all stayed, and just it was a lot of fun. Like if you ever watch a volleyball game at like a high level where the guys can jump and guys are athletic and it's quick pace, so it had a little basketball feel to it where it wasn't as slow and drawn out as a baseball game. That was just enjoyable. And after my freshman year, I honestly I can remember Joe Cantone trying to make a tackle on him on like a broken play, and me thinking he's going to go one way or the other, and he just put his helmet into my chest from like the 3-yard line and ended up on the back side of the end zone. And a coach was like, "You got to go up and hit him." And I said to myself, this is fun.
I remember Joe Cantone as a freshman too. He was just a monster.
Right. I mean, he was shaving when he was 13 years old, and I don't think I shaved till I was about 17. So it wasn't fair, and it wasn't that fun after a while when you're just getting beat up.
Yeah.
So that's how the whole volleyball thing came, and it's not. To me, it's not fun if you're not doing something. And I always just wanted to be playing something and doing something. And, I became pretty good at it. And there was, even some tournaments that I went to with some AU programs where there was some college interest. But again, it wasn't, you see Rocco play volleyball and, it's a different element. And that just but it's fun, and it's fun to still play, and it's kind of like golf in the sense that I can go out and play it right now if I wanted to.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's go back to baseball. So Little League, did you play? Would Jamestown have Little League at that time?
Jamestown did. Yep.
Yep.
Played Jamestown.
You played Jamestown. You were all-star in Jamestown, I assume.
Yeah.
Yep. Right to high school. And how was your high school experience right out the gate for you? We're going to transition like we talked before the show. We're going to tell the audience what it's like to, what it takes to get to that level.
Sure.
You're somebody who ended up being all-state, who ended up going to play in college, and now a college coach. What was it like for your experience coming in as a freshman?
A lot different than what it's like today because, back in 1996, no one had cell phones. That didn't exist. There was no Twitter. There was no, it was just the recruiting was a lot different. And you couldn't, look, I spent all summer watching high school kids play baseball. I mean, I'm talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games. There was none of that. It was Legion and you played high school. And, when you look at like Division III baseball in New England, there's 68, give or take 68 schools who compete in Division III baseball in New England. Back in 1996, there's probably between 5 and 10 full-time head coaches. And now you probably have 55 to 60 full-time head coaches and 20 to 25 programs that have full-time assistant coaches, and some of these, even if they're not full-time, there's some programs where guys are getting 20,000 plus to be an assistant coach and that's their full-time job. And so, the recruiting is just a lot different. Whereas it was one guy and 25 kids on a team. And now most teams have rosters that are between 35 and 45. And there's 2 guys there all the time recruiting. I think that's the biggest difference. And I can remember maybe 2 colleges playing in front of 2 different colleges over the course of 4 years at a high school game. And
who came out?
Eric Podbelski at Wheaton College, who has been to 3 World Series, and someone from Eastern Connecticut who Holloway was there, and he gave up that job at Eastern Connecticut, within the last few years, but he's won 3 national championships or something like that, and been to the World Series 5 or 6 times and won, I don't know, 1,300 games. Something just silly. And there was 6 schools. It was them, it was Wheaton, it was Keene State, it was Southern Maine, it was Trinity, and maybe you mix in 2 or 3 other schools. And
Jay Grenier was still at Ruth.
Yeah, right. He was there, but they weren't competing with Wheaton. They were solid in the Little East, but Southern Maine, Keene State, those are the in Eastern Connecticut, those are the premier teams in that in that conference. So the landscape's just changed a lot, and kids, if kids should know if they're being recruited or not. Where back then, hey, maybe you picked a school and you tried out for a sport and you ended up playing there, or you emailed a coach and said, hey, this is my Legion schedule. I'm really interested in your school. Come take a look at me. And, that was kind of it. There were minimal all-star games. You got a all-star game in, Rhode Island is the only state that has an all-star game in the middle of their high school baseball season. So literally when colleges are in full swing, there's an all-star game, and then on a Saturday or Sunday,
local scout to watch the game. No head coaches are coming to those games. Right?
Really, there's not. There a lot of times there's 5 or 6 schools there. Even now, just because of how much is going on, and at least Connecticut and Massachusetts have theirs in June, where the baseball season is pretty much wrapped up, unless you're, Division I in a regional or super regional. So those kids get a little bit more, publicity or recruitability, I guess. So that, I think those are the biggest differences. It's just the sheer amount of exposure you get now as opposed to maybe, 20 years ago.
So 20 years. 20 years ago.
Let's call it 20. Let's call it 20 instead of 24.
So we'll 20, 2000, right, is the year you graduate. You graduate in 2000. what are your choices? When did you know where you were gonna go play?
Honestly, I didn't know until the next year because I didn't really know what I want to do. I mean, it just kind of snuck up on you so quickly, and there was no one. There were these summer teams with coaches who are like lining you up for tryouts and calling. Like that just didn't exist. So basically, I was just looking at taking a gap year and figuring things out and taking some classes. Like kids nowadays do a PG year. That's
Yeah.
essentially what it was. But instead of a PG year, I just went to URI and took some classes to figure it out, and I ended up playing in the fall there. Got hurt, had to have surgery, and at that point, I just wanted to play. So, it was Trinity, it was Suffolk, and I knew obviously with my dad being at Salve that was an option for me to just go in and play right away. Even though it sounds a little bit more complicated, and it was a little bit more complicated because even though I was better, he didn't just anoint me, hey, you're going to be our second baseman, you're going to be a shortstop. It was kind of like, hey, you're better than this kid, but you have to be head and shoulders better for me to start you every day. And
of course.
So it's more like
no nepotism, of course.
Right. And it actually until the point where probably 4 or 5 of the older guys went up to my dad and was like, hey, you got to start him every day. This is like, we need him to win. And, I didn't have an issue with it either way. I was happy just playing and being at a school like Salve, which, was just a little bit more, I think, up my alley because I don't like being in a class with 500 people. I don't like, taking a test and you're just putting a student ID number. Like it just, you meet people and you got to have a voice and you got to have an opinion. And so I always felt like a school, with 2,000 to 4,000 kids was more of a, more of what I wanted.
Nice. All right. We're going to bring this back because I want to talk about your dad for a little
Sure.
bit. We're going to talk about your college career, then your transition into coaching. We're going to take a break, guys. Check out the Tom Gronkowski Show every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on all SFBNRI platforms. Check out all of our content on www.sfbnri.com. Guys, welcome back to episode 7 of the Ocean State Athlete Podcast with Matt and Todd. We have Eric Cirella, the head baseball coach here at Salve Regina University. Welcome back for segment 2. So let's talk about playing for your dad. So obviously, up front to everybody listening, I'm a huge fan of your dad. I think your dad's like one of the coolest, nicest guys. But I also feel as if knowing what it was like just to play for my father when I played for him in AAU and even recreation before I transitioned to playing for other coaches, you get treated significantly worse than everybody else. And everything that you do is highlighted, and even things that somebody else might do incorrectly might end up being your fault. And I feel as if in today's generation, the kids that play, you get a lot of dads who don't treat their kids that way anymore. It's, I'm going to prop my kid up and make sure he doesn't fail, as opposed to, again, 20 years ago, our generation, where it's more or less, you're going to have to earn everything that you get instead of it just being handed to you. Oh, it's okay, Daddy will take care of it.
Sure.
So what was that experience like at the collegiate level?
I mean, again, initially it was difficult just because you had to go above and beyond and not I mean, I can remember not starting right away in Florida and I'm sitting there like what am I doing? You just start to think about hey, I could go to Miami or Arizona State and just, it's 85 every day. I could watch football games and baseball games and, there's
have a good time and be a great student.
Exactly. Just enjoy it. And so if I would be lying if I if I said that thought didn't cross my mind. But then, you get the chance to play. And I think luckily for me, right out of the gates, I did really well. And, I think I left Florida hitting like 400 and ended up hitting like a walk-off home run in our last game down there. And, it was pretty evident that I had to be on the field every day. You just, had to get a little bit creative with getting some guys in, just like any other coach. You don't want the guys on the bench to just get stale, and you're trying to find a role for everybody, and essentially make people buy into what that role is. How big or how small, is really up to them. But so looking back, initially it was a tough transition, and then after about 3 weeks or so, it was fine. And we ended up winning a conference championship and winning the conference a couple times, and playing with some awesome kids, and it was a great experience. And people have asked me this before, and you just end up saying, how many parents got to see their kid play every single college game that they played in? And there's not many. So I consider myself lucky. And you kind of have to separate your dad, the coach, and your dad, the father, a little bit, because kids are not going to always be happy with the coach, and that's fine. It's not a knock on your dad. And but the majority of kids that I played with, or kids that played after me, or kids that I know, feel the same way that you do. I mean, my dad is just like a really big-hearted, genuine human being, and he really does care about everybody. And so I almost felt like I took the burden of losses harder than he did sometimes. And but it kind of fuels your fire and helps you work harder and do better things in the weight room, and achieve more. And then it got better and better and better. And by the time I was a junior, I was first team All New England and All American. And I led the country in hitting as a senior, and I hit higher as a junior. I just happened to some kid in New Jersey hit like 526, and I hit 514. So, it was a lot of fun, and a lot of my good friends still to this day, played in the program, and it taught me a lot. And I think upon graduating and then waiting to like play independent ball, getting a chance to coach the next year after I graduated, that team had, at the time, won 32 games, which was a school record. And, so when I left pro ball and I went into the business world, and then I hated it. I hated working a 9 to 5. I hated the thought of cold calling and, sales and insurance and annuities. And it just was like, hey, I really had a big impact on that team. And kids would even say like, hey, your senior year when you won the conference championship, like you would always say like, hey, we should do this and this. And your dad would agree with you because you usually brought up good points. And it made me realize like, hey, I don't, I have friends that make a ton of money, and there's times I'm jealous because they have a boat or they live in a really nice place in a big house, and they have all these fun things. But I never wake up in the morning and am like, oh, I gotta go to work. Like I work every single day. Weekends we practice, or I have recruits, but it's just like my life. And I think that's what I got from all this. The good, the bad, the ugly, the winning, the losing, and then getting thrown into it as a coach. I learned that I thought I was pretty good at it, and I understood a lot of things. And so after that, and I got into coaching, my dad was like, "Listen, you've been here for a year. I can't teach you anymore. Now you got to kind of go off on your own." And that's when I went over to URI, and Jimmy Foster was there, who's a great guy, Rhode Island guy. And
his dad's a phenomenal guy too.
Awesome guy.
Another one.
He has a crew of henchmen that would come to all the games, and all those guys, awesome people, awesome family. You're not gonna meet a guy who understands baseball more than him. You know, look, people think they have it tough, coaching for Jimmy. That was the hardest thing I ever did in my entire life. You say one thing wrong and he's down your throat because it's like coaching for Belichick or Saban. And people would say, well, it's URI, but that stuff's good for you, and it just helped me to get to where I am today, to learn from a guy like that. And, I think to this day, I'm still his longest tenured assistant, being at URI for 6 years with him, because he left for BC and they ended up going to a super regional, and now he's a head coach in Army. And, it's just, he's very demanding. And, but that's, like you see Lane Kiffin saying things about Nick Saban, and that's just not, I wouldn't do that on Twitter. I wouldn't do that on a podcast. I would do that with people that know me and know Jimmy, but
I know him,
but I would do that with Jimmy too. I would bust his balls about stuff. But it was, that's how you get better. I mean, you got to work for the best.
I want to backtrack like a
few
steps real quick.
Sure.
So senior year, lead the country in hitting.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you played independent. You were going to go play independent baseball. Did you sign with an agent? Was it kind of like, hey, was it a toss up between baseball and business, or was it like, I'm going to give baseball a shot, see if I can really hack it, and then if not, let's go make some money?
So it was. So I had an advisor, and it was somebody I knew who worked for a bigger organization that was kind of on the up and up. They had a few young players that were emerging into Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. So essentially, I thought I had a chance of getting drafted, and there was a big write up in like the Boston Herald when I played in the All-Star game at Fenway Park. And it didn't happen. You sit there and you watch it the last 10 rounds, and it's like the last 4 rounds are. The Kansas City Royals takes George Brett's nephew, and they're just like kind of
favors.
Yeah, exactly. So then I ended up signing that fall with the team in the Midwest in the Frontier League, which I love. I love the Midwest. Like, it's just a great area for sports, and I coached the summer out there in Green Bay, and ended up going to Rockford, Illinois. And we just caught some really tough weather where we were supposed to have like a 3-week spring training. And I long story short, I ended up hurting my knee, sliding for a ball. I was kind of on the shelf for a month, and where they were at, they just couldn't, they did me a favor basically by releasing me. And so I came back to the Can-Am League in New Haven. And look, no disrespect to New Haven, but it wasn't, it's not when you go to college in Newport and you grew up in Jamestown, like New Haven is really just
it's not.
So it was kind of like
comfortable with. It's not the type of environment that you picture yourself after college. And it's like you want to suffer through that.
They put me in a house with like 8 guys who had lived there for months, and like their mattresses are on the floor, and like there's 2 baths. Like I'm all like I lived in messy houses in college, but when I walked in the house, it was clean, and we created the mess. When you walk into someone else's mess and you're living there, it's just really not a great feeling. You're skeeved out 24/7. And you're looking around and saying, okay, like I'm playing here, but the guy next to me was a center fielder at Florida State. And, he's been signed to 4 different teams and kicked around independent ball. Like, I'm making $550 a month, and I got to pay $200 a month to live there. And you're trying to figure out, like, what can I eat right now? Or what can I buy to survive a month with $300 in my pocket? So it was just more of a, hey, I did it. I could play at this level. It's not a big deal. Now let's go make some money. And so it was after independent ball that I started working and, did a few things in the business world, and, essentially just
came back to baseball.
I didn't like it. I didn't like waking up at 6 in the morning and driving through rush hour traffic and playing that game. I mean,
Yeah.
some people can do it and live for the weekends, and I needed like a passion, and that's essentially when. So the best thing that ever happened was the company I was working for went out of business, and I got laid off, and I got to collect unemployment for like 3 months.
Yeah.
I studied for my GMATs, right? Is that
Yeah, to get to grad school.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I ended up killing it on my GMATs, and I went to URI, got accepted to the URI communication department master's program, and I did so well because all those kids are like super good at English, and I'm a math guy, and I scored like 720 on my math, which whatever. I answered a few questions, I closed my eyes, got them right. That they asked me to teach some classes, so now I was coaching, teaching, and getting my master's at the same time.
Making
So
some money,
it just
you're
kind
getting
of
an education, you're having a good time, and you're still
right.
close to home.
All kind of fell into place. Living in Narragansett, and living on my own, and that's kind of where it started. And
Lived a good life. You went from Newport to Narragansett.
Right. So
a little speed bump in New Haven in the middle, but overall, some great.
Exactly, with a drive to and from the Midwest, by yourself with no Sirius radio or I don't even know if I had a cell phone at that point. I think I did, but
So you have this phenomenal coaching experience at URI, right? Gets you absolutely ready. How'd you get back to Salve?
I think by like year 6, just a lot of stuff had transpired within coaching, and you get to a point where, and I'm sure you could even attest to this, like you work under somebody for so long that you feel like, hey, I want to take like 70% of this or whatever, 50% of this and just apply it, but then I want to put my own spin on it. And
having a family business, I feel the same way. I've learned an immense amount of information from my father, but at some point it's ready. I want to make it mine.
Sure.
And I want to do it my way. Not that your way's wrong, but there are gaps that you can't see because you're so close to it, and I can improve on that. So I get that.
Exactly, and that's just how I felt. Is like, okay, I've been working under you, and I learned a lot, and this is great. But now I want to run my own show, and you don't really learn. You don't like the feeling you have as when you're running your own show, whether it's in business or in sports, is just completely different. The rush you get, and the anxiety, and the sleepless nights, and all that stuff, and that's you need to feel uncomfortable really to grow, and that everybody loves their comfort zone, but you don't grow in your comfort zone. So I wanted to get out of that and try to build something and do something that hadn't been done before. And so when I talked to my dad that spring, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about leaving here, and I'm looking at some different things. And he said, why don't we talk? And more or less, he said, listen, next year is going to be my last year. Come back, work for me. And after that, I'm going to, retire, and I still will help you out for a few years and make sure you get on your feet. And, but you come here and you do everything. Like, I'm going to let you do everything. You do the recruiting, you coach third base, I'm just going to be the head coach. And, so essentially I was doing everything. I'm yelling at the umpires. I'm bringing recruits on campus. I'm running practices. He was just the figurehead, and I controlled. Exactly. And, that was fun too. I mean, I tell kids stories because, look, the pictures I sent you and some of the videos and like the nice field and symmetry and like everything that was in there. I mean, we had a bucket of balls, we had a few screens. I'm looking at the infield. I'm like, does anybody why is there weeds growing out of the dirt? What is this? What's going on here? Why don't you
It's a college baseball field.
Right. And I'm trying to recruit kids. I mean, I swear to God, for my first 3 years, I would take kids from my office and we just go on the cliff walk and we go back and forth. I'm, like, this is the campus here. And don't, the baseball field, don't worry about that. It's a baseball field. We've all seen one of those. But it was just really one of the old ADs at Salve just kind of set the program back in lack of a better way to put it. Just didn't, where other programs are making investments into athletics. He didn't, and he didn't understand that, and that's what you get. And luckily, after being there and getting the right people around you, and fundraising, and some of the parents and booster club stuff, and we were able to raise a bunch of money and build a new infield and dugouts and backstop and fencing and new cages and new bullpens and turf halo. And, so it has come a long way. And I get frustrated. Kids,
and all the pictures and the videos, it's big time. It
looks great.
Program. It's beautiful. It's a great setting. It looks like a place where you want, now when you bring a kid on campus, I'm sure we're going right to the baseball field.
It's much easier. I show them pictures. I tell, but look, all the kids that, we want to, so I was head coach 14, 15, 2016 win a conference championship, 17 win a conference championship, win the regular season outright, and we're ranked as high as 13th in the country. And not like, hey, you're 13th and there's 150 teams in the country, like 13th and there's 385 teams in the country. Like, there's a lot of college baseball teams in the country. It's very, very difficult to be nationally ranked in that sport because of how many teams there are. But all those kids who played on that team, they were recruited to that old field, so like it was kind of like them sitting across from me and listening to me say, I am going to make this happen. You just have to trust me. Like, everything else here is beautiful. I'm going to make this work. And you have my word. But I understand if you don't believe me. And those are the kids who I really, admire. And to this day, I still have great relationships with, because they took a leap of faith and they helped,
what you are now.
Exactly. Whatever. Like, I'm sure URI and what, the Catino Mobleys and the guys who are playing in Keeney before the Ryan Center and stuff, like that's just how it felt. So, it's been a lot of work, but at your worst days, you can look back and be like, remember what this was like, and then where it is now. And to me, that's very, very enjoyable.
That's awesome. I think being able to grow your own program and to see like what it's come to and where you can even project to go moving forward, that's got to be really rewarding and worth every sacrifice that you made, financially, by deciding to go all in with baseball.
Sure. And it's frank. Like, you work every day, and you miss bachelor parties, or you miss vacations, or you miss, there's just, I can't tell you how many times I've just grabbed a close friend from over the years and just been like, listen, man, I'm really sorry that I couldn't do this, but like, it's just, you can't take a day off. You just feel like, but now I'm at the point where I can play around a golf or take a day out, even though it bothers me. But you're on call. You're on call like a doctor, and you get paid like a teacher. That's just what you sign up for.
So in the past, probably 3-4 months, I've texted you about 3 or 4 times asking about kids. We have those who don't watch, I don't know what sports. I have a lot of friends and family that come on in, say, oh, my kid, interested in playing at Salve. Do you think he can play? So leave all the kids nameless, but I'll text you and you'll give me, honest advice. And now Salve, like we said earlier in the show, not viewed as being, a prestigious premier program. And you have kids who in Rhode Island seem great.
Sure.
But let's give the listeners and the people and the parents and the kids, especially, a little bit of a little dose of reality. What does it take? What type of kid, obviously depending on position, is it really going to take to go to Salve? And it's not, not that they can't play and they're not good at baseball, like we discussed earlier.
Right.
But what does it take to get to play at that level?
the honest truth is there's not many kids that, at least from the state, we're pretty good. Where Andrew McKeon, who's a Rhode Island College graduate, he's my assistant, he's my pitching coach. He's him and I are on the same page, and we know 95% of the kids in this state. And then we have to cover 7 or 8 other states. And the truth is, like, sometimes you're like, we're looking for fringe Division One guys. We're looking for a guy. We're waiting for kids who, like, URI passes on, or Northeastern passes on, or Sacred Heart passes on, or somebody misses on, or that 3-sport kid that plays Legion that nobody knows about. Like, we got a kid who's a freshman, and he's injured right now, and he runs a 6'8". He's a lefty bat. He's 6'1". He can hit the ball 400 feet, but he throws 89 miles an hour off the mound, that no Division One school knows about because he played Ashland Legion a year ago. Yeah. And who recruits Legion? These guys are all on these big circuits. So, like, it's not that a kid isn't good. It's just that the kid who could play at Salve or Rick or Johnson and Wales or Roger Williams 20 years ago, those kids can't necessarily play there anymore. The best players can, but the kid who didn't play for 2 years and then he was like, a platoon, and then he started as a senior, like that guy doesn't exist anymore. It really is really difficult. And I saw a stat the other night, the Rays and the Yankees, and the average fastball in that game was 95 miles an hour. So, the game of baseball is just, it's getting crazy. The things that are going on in this game for the last 5 to 7 years are nuts. But we started up 2 weeks ago. We had 2 redshirt freshmen, redshirt because they lost their year to COVID last year. Yeah. A lefty who came in, he was 80, 82, 83, touch 85. Now he's 87, 89. Same righty who's 82, 85 is now 87, 90. These are redshirt freshmen. And then we had a freshman from Nauset who's a lefty, touch 90. Like, and people are like, well, so this kid, he throws 78. And it's like, yeah, and I'm sure he's going to throw a little bit harder, but I'm not just looking at, what he has. It's where he's going to be and what we have. And, I know it's really hard to explain, but I just know it when I see it. And it's not an exact science, trust me, because you miss on guys. You say, I'm going to go a different route. And that kid ends up being a really good player, and you tip your cap. But that's baseball. Like, scouts, look, 60% of first-round major league picks make it to the big leagues. 60%. So what is it in NFL? I mean, all those guys play in the NFL, right? Every first-round pick, unless they like.
Play, yeah, but the average career is what, 3.8 years or 4.8 years to under 4, under 5 years.
Sure, but these are the top. These are like the experts of the experts, and 60 to 64% play in the major leagues. So, like, this is not an exact science. You're trying to balance a lot of different things, and you're seeing a kid as a junior and trying to figure out where's he going to be in 2 years. Yeah. And that's, what I tell kids is, I am not always right. It is not personal. And you're more than welcome to come here and prove me wrong, because kids walk on and make the team all the time. Yeah. But all I have to do is stick with my system and really be as honest as possible. And I think at the end of the day, you might disagree with me, but at least you'll respect me. And that's, I've been wrong, and I've had parents be like, you know what, coach, we really respected the fact that you were honest with our son, and he went here, and, we know that you want him now, but we respected you. And that's all you have at the end of the day.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? I think that's a good perspective for your program. If you could give a bit of advice to the parents now and the kids who are listening and who will listen, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I give the plug right there. What would you tell them to do to prepare for their opportunity to play college baseball? You want them, whether make sure they have good grades, make sure they're, well-rounded as an athlete, or are you looking for a person who only plays baseball? what would just a little piece of advice?
Yeah, no, I mean,
believe
look,
that the 3-sport or 2-sport athlete should still exist. I think being a single sport athlete. Listen, I played basketball. That was really all I was really good at. But I did track. I did cross country. I did tennis. You just got to play. You got to you're well rounded. So what advice do you want to give these kids?
I think I tell kids, I mean, they ask me all the time, Coach, I'm coming. What do you want me to do? I play football. I said, listen, you got one senior year of high school ever. Play everything that you can, because once you get here, you're going to be a baseball player. I am all for 3 sports, 2 sports. Play everything you can, do everything you can. You're only young once, but look, we grew up in a generation where, like, if you beat me in something, I'm going to play you the next day. You just kicked my butt after school in tennis. Like, I don't care what it is. I want to play you, and I want to beat you, and I'm going to figure out a way. Like, that's just how I was raised. So, I would tell kids to compete, to never stop competing and never stop working, because there's just so many kids out there, and you never know. Baseball is so much different than basketball. Like, we have kids that sign and they play professionally. We had scouts. We had 5 games last year. We had scouts at 4 of them. Like, there's a kid who started for the Rays. He's a Division III pitcher. He pitched on the field next to us 5 years ago in Florida. It doesn't matter in baseball. Kids develop at different times. You have to go somewhere where you can play. And if you like a school, then go prove a coach wrong. Because, if you're better than what I have and you can help me win games, I would be an absolute idiot not to keep you on the team and play you. But, everybody is told at some point that they can't play sports anymore, or they can't, play it for at the college level or the professional level. Like, your career ends and you need something to fall back on. So I always say education first. Go somewhere that you would want to be, even if your arms fell off, or the sport was taken away. And that's, I think, the best advice. But go somewhere you're wanted. Don't go. Don't look for the bumper sticker school. Don't just because it looks good on Twitter and you're going to get 400 people to like it. And I always tell kids, listen, I started this program begging kids to come onto campus and just visit a school they never heard of and come to a place they've never been to before. And I said, if you don't like it, I'll never call you. I'll never text you again. But if you come up here, I promise you, you're going to be blown away. And some of these kids sat down and that very day said, Coach, I love it. Where do we go from here? You never know who you're going to meet or what you're going to experience. So visit anywhere, a school that you're like, I don't know where that is. Just go, because that coach might fall in love with you, and that might open up a bunch of opportunities. And in this world, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly. 110%. Well, I think it's a good piece of advice for everybody listening. I'm going to take a quick break. Guys, check out the Roadie Takeout Report, the Roadie Sports Report, Play Like a Girl, Political Goat, Ocean State Athlete Podcast with Matt and Todd, Tom Gronkowski Show, Titletown Throwdown, the Evil Empire Takeover, MMA Complete, and That's the Game. Check them all out on www.sfbnri.com. Guys, welcome back to the Ocean State Athlete Podcast with Matt and Todd. We have Eric Cirella, Salve Regina baseball coach, as our guest. Welcome back, Eric. Usually this is where we're doing our fantasy draft, and we have Todd come on in. So there's 3 of us typically. Todd obviously had to go, so we bring in a special guest, if that's cool with you, to going to chat him up a little bit.
That's great.
And do the draft. Bring on in Mark Mazza.
What's up, guys? Yeah, what's up, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
How we
what
doing?
Are you doing?
Yeah,
you're off. You're not on babysitting duty tonight? The boys
I'm temporarily off. One's asleep. but I got some time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mazza, thanks for watching the show and listening and
absolutely.
Around.
Thanks for having.
Thanks for coming on. Of course, I'm excited. We all haven't seen each other probably in person. God knows how many. At least I haven't seen you guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
When's the last time you saw each other?
This summer, we
probably like a few weeks ago. Yeah, maybe it's probably weeks go by quickly these days with COVID. So it's probably been months at this point. But catch up pretty regularly. But yeah, Maddie, I don't know when the last time I saw you was in person, but good to see you.
I know it's been a long. It's been good to see you too.
Yeah.
So you got to play volleyball and basketball with Eric.
I did. Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was great. I mean, to be honest with you, and I don't want to pump his tires, but I mean, I think the best part about having him as co-captain and teammate is, I like to play, and I like to think that I did pretty well when I was in high school in Rhode Island. But Eric was more of the driven, we need to win guy, and could kind of rally the team that way. Mine was more of a I could kind of try to be more of the silent leadership. I wasn't in people's faces. I was just trying to produce. But having that guy, I mean, he was the setter. He was the point guard to my center and my middle hitter. Having that guy that you could just count on, and he's selling offensive fouls and getting the big plays when you need them. He just wants to win, and that was great, to be able to play with someone like that, my whole career, which was great.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's good that you guys were able to do that in multiple sports.
I will say too, I caught Mark's freshman year of college because Mark went on and played at WPI for hoops, and they went to Salve, and Salve hoops at that point was pretty good, and the coach who recruited Mark, they were building, Mark's class was like that really first big class of talent, and I wanted to jump on the court and play because I felt like that was the one college basketball game I saw, and I'm like, man, I could come out here right now and I could run with these guys. I really feel that way.
We could have used you that year, buddy. I'm not lying. That was listen to hear you talk and say, hey, you had those guys that were with you from when the field was rough, and to turn it around to a conference championship. My first year we went 0-20. It was a tough year, but as a freshman, you get to play, you get to start, you get to really get some experience in there. But you ride it out. In my senior year, we were conference champions, so I can feel for those guys that stuck it out with you, and it wasn't the easiest road, but I understand where you're coming from.
Right. We were never 0-20. I will say that.
Yeah, well, not my proudest year, but it's a stat that's interesting. That
it really is.
It's a conversation.
Senior year, you guys are awesome. Like watching you 4 years later and watching your games. It was just like, wow, this is like a completely different team. So, that's coaching in a nutshell. And coaches come and go, and in all sports, and sometimes they stay for a while, and sometimes they stay there forever. It's the nature of the beast. But it was really, that really sticks out to me because I remember that was that one time that I was just like, man, I really want to play hoops right now. I feel like I could make a difference in the game.
Like I said, we seriously could have used you that year. That was a tough squad.
Right.
Tough squad.
But
no, I've been talking. I got a chance to talk to Harry Grigsby, which both you guys remember from St. Ray's, and he played AU basketball with us. I got a chance to see Eddie Gray came by my shop recently.
Oh wow!
Remember Eddie? Yeah,
I do.
Seen him forever. And I recently been able to look back at those years in the late '90s when we were traveling around playing basketball, in particular, and think about how I'd give my left nut to do that again, one more time, and just you don't realize how lucky you are. 'Cause like they said, there were no cell phones, so it was just us with our Walkmans and going to random shopping malls and
that's right. Lots of malls, lots of laser tag, and hotel room nonsense, and a lot of fun.
It was so much fun.
Ordering rated R movies and
Yeah.
buying sneakers and just.
Remember who could get the coolest black Nike socks at the mall?
That's right.
Was you always had the coolest
listening
gear
to-
because you had the Elmwood Sport. You were bankrolled.
That's
So
right.
like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
That's
this
always
came out.
geared up.
Like, look at these.
Listening to whatever whatever DJ Sab the ill finger was recommending at the time.
Whatever mixtape was hot. It was like, oh, this is cool. We'll listen to this.
Sure.
No
Exactly.
idea
Yeah.
What it is. No
Yeah.
idea what it is.
Not my
You
style.
were you. I felt like John Stockton, in the clothes I was wearing. Compared, you were like Cam Newton. You had anything. You know what I mean? Whatever. It was just how it felt.
Now I wear skinny jeans and Vans. And
That's right.
skinny jeans.
It all comes full circle.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
my days of skinny anything are gone, so it's all good.
Oh, dude, it's so. Well, I wear like the stretchy skinny jeans now. Holding on to those, and then pretty soon it's all downhill. You know how it is. It's kids for you.
That's right.
All right, so we're gonna hit the draft up because we got about 50 minutes left. Fantasy football style, so snake draft. We start Eric. We'll go Mazza. I'll come up last. We're gonna do best big game pitchers. So you can pick of all time. You can pick any pitcher you want, and even if you only had a great season, not like if you only had one game, but if you a stud for one season, you can pick him as well.
Okay.
All right, Eric, first pick.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with this is not in any particular order as much as it is just guys that to me were big game pitchers and I loved. So my first pick, I think, is going to be John Smoltz, who just has more strikeouts in postseason play than any pitcher. And still to this day, the two best playoff games I can remember watching him lose to Jack Morris in a 1-0 game in like the early 90s, but then him losing 1-0 to Andy Pettit in the 1996 World Series. Guy was just an animal.
That was before he moved to a closer, right?
It was before, yeah. Yep.
He first of all, he's number one on my board, so thank you. I appreciate you taking my first pick. But those Atlanta Braves teams with him, Glavine, and Maddox. Oh my God, nuts! All right, Mazza, what you got?
All right. Well, Eric's going to laugh anyways as we go through this because just preface, I'm more of a basketball guy, but baseball, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring, but that's all right. And I'm going to go first pick. I got to go Pedro Martinez. Moving to Boston right out of school back in 04 and living those years. When Boston really was a baseball town. It's changed a bit. When Tom in the Tom Brady era. But spending a lot of time at Fenway and seeing those games. I got to throw a nod to Pedro there.
I dig it. Good pick. I'm gonna go. I go down my list here. I'm gonna preface this way. I'm gonna try to go all Yankees.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with Mariano. Take a little Mariano Rivera, even though he's a closer.
42 saves in the postseason.
The theme music comes
Red Sox,
on, and you walk off the field. He's got it. And then I'm gonna wait for that one later. I don't know he's gonna pick him. I'm gonna go David Wells.
Ooh.
2000s David Wells.
Ooh,
Big set of balls.
a big fella.
Even though I could have gotten him probably later. I also love that he wore the Babe Ruth hat.
And that he reeked of beer for any start.
Exactly.
Beer and probably
Not sure, yeah.
He was a phenomenal athlete. He was like the peak of physical fitness.
Not your prototypical. He's like the John Daly of baseball, I guess, right?
But you have to respect that guy who just his career could have went a little bit longer and better, but he had fun.
Oh,
yeah,
he enjoyed every part of being a celebrity and being a professional. Imagine if he really worked out and put in some work.
Right.
You wonder if it would have changed him though. You see that happen to guys. They change their body composition and then all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore.
I know. If you're not
think you're not having fun.
Then is he really going to be able to pitch?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. What do you got?
It's back to me.
Yep.
All right. I'm gonna stick with the Red Sox for now, and go that same kind of era. I'm gonna go Schilling. The bloody sock will go down in history, and I think has already.
He's 11-2 in the postseason, 4-1 in the World Series. Only loss in the World Series was in 1993 when he pitched for Philadelphia.
So be honest.
So I'm just going to throw out these fun facts.
Do you have that like by memory, or is that on the computer screen?
I did some. I did a little research.
Light research.
Like I
did
basically read like
research as well. Yeah, you can't beat his
3
postseason. I mean,
articles.
he went big. You told me big game pitcher, so I mean, I'm saying, with that many postseason games, it's hard to argue.
All right, what do you got, Eric? You're in for two.
Well, I want to go Yankees now just because you so I want to steal a couple of yours while we do this. So I'm going to go with the record holder for playoff wins, Andy Pettitte. 19 playoff wins, 183 strikeouts, 5 World Series championships, and as big a game pitcher as you can possibly throw on the mound.
You chalk him in for 2 wins in a World Series, easy, and for the third if you need him.
It's just dangerous. I mean, gets righties out, gets lefties out, wins, and he's got a dirty pickoff move.
All right, and one more.
I'll get away from the Yankees, and I'm going to do a throwback here. Just because he just passed away, I'm going to go with Bob Gibson. I'm pretty sure that Major League Baseball actually had to move the mound back a foot or two because he was so good. Okay, I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to read up on that, but I know he lost his first and last World Series game he started. He was 7-0 in between that, and he threw like 71 innings and struck out 86 guys. Like, he is just an animal, and he just died like 3 days ago. So that's for Bob.
I dig it.
R.I.P.
Mazza, what do you got?
All right. I'm going. I thought maybe he'd go at the top, but I'm going to go Nolan Ryan. I didn't name my first son after him, but it also a little near and dear. My first son's name is Nolan, so I had to get him on my team if I could get him. So I mean, hard to argue. All-time strikeouts, no hits. It's
that's solid. And you named your son after him. That's what you tell your son that you drafted him.
That's right. If basketball doesn't work out and he's going to be tall, then maybe I can get him on the mound.
Don't send the 5-star camp when he's 14 years old.
Well, if you're still at Salve, maybe we got a shot for him to play down there.
Let's go.
You know a guy.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's see. I got 2. I'm gonna go Clemens. I'm gonna take Clemens.
Got him.
Roger Clemens, and then I'm gonna come back with. I'm gonna go David Cone.
Ooh. Great pick. I like the pick.
I'm gonna still take Cone. I was gonna go
great pitcher.
Else, but I'm pretty sure I have one more. I don't know. All right.
I think I'm just gonna take the 2 Yankees just to screw with you on the way back.
Mazza, what do you got?
All right. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Eckersley.
Ooh, the
I'm gonna go for I mean,
everyone just remembers the home run he gave up in the World Series. How big was that? Limping around the bases.
That haircut alone.
Mustache combo. Plus, I mean, as far as his saves and and plus I like to listen to him these days. In the box, in the booth. So,
nice. All right. We got 2 for you. 2 Yankees now.
All right. I'm not going to do 2 Yankees, but I will do one. First is Whitey Ford, 10 World Series wins. Okay. Every dynasty needs a guy, and when Mantle and all those guys were with the Yankees, it was Whitey Ford, and guy's just a G. And then how about Madison Baumgardner? Okay, 5 World Series wins. He's got a .25 ERA in the World Series, and over 97 innings. I think he's got under 2 ERA. Guys, 1-2 with San Fran, and outdueled Clayton Kershaw multiple times.
I
Good
feel like
pitcher.
gotten
He's number
forgotten.
one. He was number one on like one of
all
the
time
articles
on
I read.
multiple lists. Yep, on multiple lists, he's number one.
Yeah.
And he, I think he's gotten a bad rap after the past couple of years. Like people are starting to forget how great he was. He was just, if he started, you just okay, we're just gonna go. We'll see you later.
Yeah,
You know,
like
you chalk him
unhittable.
up for the W.
And in an NL, if he had a bat, he could lose a ball. Like he was he was a guy.
So he was an all-around athlete. What do you got, Mazza?
All right, did you say this is last pick?
Last final pick.
All right, so I'm gonna go with somebody where I did full disclosure, did a little research too, like Eric, and I'm gonna throw out one of these stats because I thought it was interesting. I'm going Billy Wagner, and I read that he broke his arm when he was young and taught himself to throw lefty. I can't even the things that I try to do lefty. I can get by on a basketball court, but throw a ball. That's a whole, and now I got arthritis
Division III,
in my right wrist.
Division
so
III
everything
pitcher.
I try to do lefty, unbelievable. Like I just got to give respect to a guy that can do that just as an athlete.
D3 pitcher, he would throw the ball as far as he could, and then he would go pick it up and throw it in the other direction. That's how he got good at pitching.
Really?
Yeah, true story.
Yeah,
D3 guy.
That's crazy. All right, last pick. All right, so I was gonna go for the easy pick and go Babe Ruth, just because how dominant he was. But I feel like that's lazy. So I'm gonna go, and I was gonna take him early. I'm gonna go 2007. Just that year alone, only one good year.
Beckett.
No.
Yeah.
Jabba Chamberlain.
Ooh.
So that was before all the bugs and stuff?
Oh, before all the bugs. That one season.
I didn't hear about him after the bugs. I don't know what happened.
I did research. And
is that why you prefaced? You prefaced with, doesn't have to be all time. It can be just that one good season. You had him in the bag.
Exactly. I was actually discussing it with Todd when I thought he was still going to be on the show.
Sure.
And I'm like, can we get like just one solid season? Because
yeah,
for that 1 year,
that can define a career. Yeah,
it is. He made $13 million off that one season, a career, and he's pretty much just a fat slob doing nothing now. And, has nightmares of Nats ruining his career. But
I had a whole list. I could have went 16 rounds. I had Lester and
who else you got? I want to hear what the pro has.
Yeah.
Let's Palmer, Brett Saberhagen. How about Oral Hershiser? He was MVP. He was MVP of the ALCS and the World Series. He was unhittable in the World Series with the earthquake, I think it was that year. Yep. Sandy Koufax, what he did before the age of 30 is unbelievable. Tom Seaver, Randy Johnson, Strasburg pretty much won the last World Series.
Yeah.
Josh Beckett, 2003 and 2007. That's where I thought you were going. Roy Halladay, who, rest in peace, threw a no-no in his first playoff game ever. And then Ron Guidry was the Yankee that I thought was maybe your wild card.
No, I went very obscure with one specific person.
Those are just some guys I had on my list. And then Roy Oswalt, too, I guess. Real big game pitcher. And they quantify, they have an exact measurement for what is a big game in major leagues.
Well, his overall record wasn't phenomenal.
He was supposedly 37-9 in what's classified as big games. So,
Mark,
fun fact for the viewers.
You're at a disadvantage with this draft.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I swear to God, in 20 minutes I took between practice plans and something else. I just wrote down a bunch of things.
The draft topic,
it's right here.
Original draft topic was going to be favorite condiments. So I feel like that would have been better.
That would have been right up my alley. Yeah, like I said, that's why I'm not wearing anything skinny these days. Condiments I can do.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Mark, thanks for hopping on at the end. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I was glad to be a part of it.
Next time you come in town, definitely let us know and try to get a group of us together. Maybe we can hoop.
Absolutely.
Hoop, maybe golf. Let's golf.
I can still get around a little bit. Yeah.
I would definitely much rather have a round of golf.
There we go.
Nice early morning round of golf.
Sure.
Eric, thank you so much for coming on. Looking forward to what this season holds for your program. Hopefully you do get a full baseball season in. And thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And great guest here, Mark.
All right.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. This is another episode of the Your State Athlete Podcast.